There's a place at Bluff Creek where the trail just stops. Not officially, the trail keeps going on the map, but everybody who's had an encounter knows you just don't go past that particular nurse log. The one with the hemlock growing out of its center like a spinal column. The Park Service does not put up signs, the guides won't mention it, but they all know. And if you ask why, they'll shrug and say something about unstable ground or protected habitat, but that's not why. Welcome back to the Forest Wild. I'm your host, Charlie. Today we're talking about what you already know if you've seen one. These beings aren't just in the forest. They're somehow of the forest. I know most of you came to this realization the moment you looked into their eyes. That split second of contact that made you understand this isn't just an undiscovered primate. This is something else entirely. Something that belongs to the land in a way we've forgotten how to belong. Let me share with you what I've learned from interviewing a few witnesses like you. Here's what the data shows when you map encounters. The Olympic National Park, 487 documented encounters since 1969. The North Cascades National Park, 51. Same state, same ecosystem, same elevation range. The North Cascades is actually more remote, less visited. The Mount Baker Snoqualmie National Forest, 342 encounters. The Okanagan National Forest, 23 encounters. They share a border, literally touching the same climate, same food sources. Those of you who have had encounters, you already know why. You've felt it. The presence wasn't just the being you saw. The presence was the entire forest, awake and watching you. How many of you have had your cameras malfunction? Your phones die. Your trail cams show nothing when you know something was there. You're not crazy and you're not cursed. You're witnessing consciousness protecting itself. One witness from Oregon, a former Marine, technical background, had 3 separate camera systems running. All 3 failed simultaneously in the moment that the being appeared to him. The backups that he thought he had, corrupted. But here's the interesting part. His written notes about the encounter, they survived. His sketches were intact. His memory was crystal clear. So why? I think the answer is because those things, his recollection of the story and his sketches and whatnot, those things were not evidence. They were his testimony. They were his relationship to the moment. The phenomenon allows witness, but it prevents capture. Think about that for a second. Those of you who have returned to your encounter site, you've noticed this pattern. The moment somebody tries to monetize or commoditize the location, the presence leaves. Salt Fork State Park in Ohio, consistent encounters through the early 90s until tour companies started charging for authentic Sasquatch experiences. The activity stopped entirely, and those companies folded immediately. 5 years after the last tour company left, and some of you were there, the encounters started happening again. Bluff Creek became a circus after the Patterson-Gimlin film. 30 years of nothing afterward, only starting to come back when the tourists left. One witness from Washington told me, I had encounters on my property for 3 years. Footprints, vocalizations, gifting exchanges. Then my brother convinced me to let a TV crew come document it. They paid me $5,000 for access, and I haven't had a single encounter in the 4 years since. It's like I betrayed something, like I broke a trust. So you know what he's talking about. These beings operate on reciprocity, honor, not transaction. Let's talk about what you experienced, the moment of your encounter. First, the silence. Every one of you describes it the same way. The sudden cessation of forest sounds. Not gradually, but instantly. Like somebody hit a mute button on the entire ecosystem. That's not animals going quiet because a predator is near. It's the entire forest focusing its attention through a single point of consciousness. The electromagnetic sensations that many of you describe, hair standing up, skin tingling, that pressure in your chest, you weren't imagining it. Dr. Simone at the University of Washington has measured electromagnetic field changes at encounter sites. They spike at 7.83 hertz. That's the exact number of the Schumann resonance, which is the frequency of deep human meditation states. The being you saw wasn't separate from that field. It was a concentration of it. A native elder I interviewed listened to witness accounts for years. And then she said something interesting when we were talking. She said, "Your people think that you're seeing an animal, and our people know that you are seeing the forest walking." Another tribe has a word for it, the Siaya, which roughly translates to the forest taking shape. Another native group describes beings that are, quote, borrowed from the land, or temporary concentrations of the ecosystem's consciousness. They never tried to prove these beings existed. They negotiated with them. They understood that you can't capture the forest any more than you can capture the wind. You can only have a relationship with it. I'm curious, how many of you have noticed this after your encounter? Your relationship with nature changes. You can't really walk through forests the same way as before. You feel watched. Not in a threatening way, but in an aware way, like you know you're part of it, like the trees are noticing you, and the land recognizes you. That's because it does. Your encounter wasn't random. The forest chose to show itself to you, let you see behind the veil for just a moment. And once you've seen, you can't unsee. You're marked. Not physically, obviously, but energetically. Now you're a part of the conversation. Some of you have had follow-up experiences, subtle ones at times, like a perfectly placed feather or an unusual stone where you were just standing and it wasn't there, or tree structures maybe that weren't there before. The forest is still communicating with you. You just had to learn its language first. Dr. Suzanne Samar's research at UBC proved what witnesses have been saying for decades. Forests are neural networks. Mycelial fungi connect every root system to one another. Trees share information instantly across thousands of acres. When you stepped into that forest, the entire organism knew that you were there. Your emotional state, your intentions, your openness, or your fear. The being that you encountered knew everything about you before it showed you itself. It knew if you could handle the experience. It knew if you would honor it or exploit it. That's why encounters happen to certain people at certain moments, I think, often during life transitions, especially grief, especially spiritual questioning, times when your normal defenses might be down or your consciousness is permeable enough to interface with something larger than you. The forest didn't randomly appear to you. It recognized something in you that was ready. Here's what I've learned from talking with a lot of you. Seeing these beings comes with immense responsibility. Not to prove anything, not to convince anybody, but to hold space for the truth of what you experienced. Some of you have tried to share your encounters, and you've been ridiculed. Others have kept silent for decades, carrying this knowledge alone. Both are valid. The forest doesn't demand evangelism, it demands integrity. Your job isn't to make others believe, it's to honor what you've been shown, to protect these places through your silence when necessary, or your voice when called for. I get so frustrated when big YouTube thumbnails say, the beast of whatever, the monster that came from the forest, and they make it sound like it's a witch hunt. Many of you have become guardians. You find yourselves maybe picking up trash on trails or speaking up against development, teaching your children to see the forest as alive, not a resource. This is the real communication, not what you saw, but how it changed you. Today, I'll leave you with this thought from a witness from British Columbia who's had a couple encounters over the course of 40 years. They said, "I used to think they were hiding from us. Now I think they're waiting for us to remember that consciousness doesn't stop at our skin, that we're part of something so much bigger than ourselves. They are not the mystery. We are. We're the ones who forgot what we are." Next episode, we're going to dig deeper into what I call the network effect. Those of you who have had encounters in different forests, thousands of miles apart, but felt the same things and experienced the same sights, the same consciousness. Because your experiences suggest something extraordinary, these conscious territories might be connected across impossible distances. I'm Charlie. This is The Forest Wild. To those of you who have seen, thank you for holding this knowledge. We're listening.